Okay, without further ado, it's here. The net wins trade value formula, what every player is actually worth right now. Every NBA trade involves a version of the same argument. One side says the player is worth what they produce, the other side says they're worth what they'll produce. Both are right, and neither is complete without the other. Production and age aren't separate questions, they're two inputs into one answer. A player who generates 9 net wins at age 22 is a fundamentally different asset than a player who generates 9 net wins at age 31, even though the box score looks identical. One of them has 4 years of prime production ahead, the other's past his peak and is starting down the other side of the curve. The formula I'm introducing here is an attempt to make that difference explicit and consistent. It's built on the net wins database, which is at willf123 github.io/NBA net wins, and critically on the aging curves that the same database produces, which means the discount rates aren't borrowed from baseball or assumed from theory. They come from what NBA players at each age actually produce, measured across 47 seasons. Net Wins is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a subscriber. The formula uses age 26 as the peak age. That's not arbitrary. When I ran the net wins database across all forward and center seasons from 79-80 through 25-26, and average production by age, the numbers are consistent. Players climb steadily through their early 20s, reach a production peak at the 25 to 27 range, and then decline from there roughly at 9% per year. Guard aging curves are similar, with a slightly earlier peak. The conventional baseball wisdom built into the original Bill James formula puts peak at 27. The NBA is different. The game relies more heavily on athleticism, first step quickness, and explosive finishing than baseball does, and those attributes erode earlier. The research of this database puts peak at 26, and that's what the formula uses. The secondary confirmation comes from the contract market itself. Maximum extensions are offered at 24, 25, locking in players just before their expected peak. Teams aren't guessing when they structure those deals. They're applying their own version of the same curve. So the trade value is net wins times a multiplier of the age. So pre-peak is growing, and post-peak older than 26 is going down. And in the written version of this, it has the exact formula. The pre-peak side is linear, so each year before 26, a player gets a 12% premium on the current net wins, rewarding upside, not guaranteed production. A 22-year-old gets a 1.48 times multiplier. A 24-year-old gets 1.24. At 26, the multiplier is exactly 1. Current production equals trade value, no premium, no discount. The post-peak side is exponential. Each year past 26 compounds a 9% annual discount, derived directly from how production actually declines on the database. A 29-year-old's at 0.754x, a 32-year-old's at 0.568x, a 37-year-old's at 0.354x. And there's a multiplier table that makes this visible. The 12% pre-peak constant is the one judgment call in the formula. The 9% post-peak decay is data. You could argue the pre-peak premium should be 10% or 15%. Reasonable people would disagree. That's not debatable. It's the direction youth commands a premium, and that premium should be explicitly quantified rather than left to intuition. And then I include the top 30 players by net wins trade value from 25-26 using the actual season wins and ages with a minimum of 41 games played. So there's a few things worth saying about what this list is and what it isn't. Trade value is not the same as best player right now. The formula explicitly rewards future production, which means young players with upside appear above older players with superior current output. Jokic is tied with SGA as the most productive player in the database this season, regular season, at 13.1 net wins, and he ranks 20th in trade value, behind players who are producing less than he is right now. That's not a flaw, it's the point. A 30-year-old Jokic at 13.1 net wins is extraordinary, but a team acquiring him is getting his age 31 through age 35 seasons, not his age 26 or age 30 seasons. The discount reflects that math. SGA is at 5th. It's the clearest case of the post-peak multiplier doing meaningful work even at 27. He's 1 year past peak, producing at a superstar level, but the multiplier already starts reducing his trade value below pure production, he's still fifth in the league. That's not a criticism, it's an observation about where he sits in the curve. Luca, at exactly 26 years old, is the formula at its most literal. Peak age means peak value. Trade value equals net wins multiplied by 1. No premium, no discount. Whatever he produces right now is what he's worth in trade. At 11.1 net wins, he's the 10th most valuable trade asset in the league by this measure, which feels about right. So, where were the biggest gaps of production versus trade value? The formula's most useful function is revealing where current production and trade value diverge most sharply. Those gaps are where trades get made and mismatches get exploited. There's high production discounted future players, and these players are producing elite net wins right now, whose age discounts substantially reduce their trade value. An example is Kevin Durant is producing at an all-star level at age 37. He's also worse than half that in trade terms. Any team acquiring him is projecting against a steep aging cliff, not because Durant's been bad, but because the post-peak compound discount running from age 26 to age 37 is 11 years of 9% annual reduction. That math's unforgiving. LeBron James at 41 with 7.7 net wins is one of the most remarkable data points in the entire database. He's still producing at a level that would make him a legitimate starter on most teams. His trade value, 1.9, reflects the brutal reality that acquiring him means betting on one more productive season, maybe two, before the curve flattens towards zero. Another type of players, young players with upside premiums. These are players whose trade value substantially exceeds their current net wins, what you're paying for when you acquire youth. These are assets you're buying at current production prices, but valuing at projected peak prices. The premium's the bet that these players develop as their talent suggests, that their current trajectory holds, that they stay healthy. It's a real premium for real upside, not for guaranteed production. Donovan Clingan at 21 is the most striking case in this group. He's already producing 7 net wins, legitimately useful, not just promising, and his multiplier of 1.6 on top of that production produces a trade value of 11.2, making him the 9th most valuable trade asset in the league. Port is sitting on something significant there. So then I did a study of the trade value by age band across all 331 qualified players this season. Trade value and net wins diverge predictably by age. The 26 to 28 band's the hinge. Median net wins equals median trade value at exactly 2.8. That's a formula working as intended. Peak age players are priced at production, not premium or discount. Everything before it carries an upside premium. Everything after it carries a discount that grows with each passing year. The age 19 to 22 band has a median net wins of only 1.7. Most young players aren't producing much yet, but a median trade value of 2.8, a premium of more than 60% over the current output. That's what the market pays for draft picks and early career players, made explicit. The age 36 plus band net wins is actually 3, higher than the 19 to 22 band, because only the very best players are still producing at 36. Survivorship bias in action, but their median trade value is 1.1, the lowest in the table. Elite production at 37 is worth less in trade than a mediocre production at 22. That's not sentiment, it's math. So what does this not capture? The formula is transparent, has obvious limits worth stating. It doesn't know about injuries. A player projecting forward as a healthy 24-year-old who has chronic knee condition is not the same asset as a healthy 24-year-old, but the formula treats them identically. Injury history is a discount you have to apply manually on top of the output here. It doesn't know about contract status. A 27-year-old on a rookie deal is a better asset than a 27-year-old on a max extension, even at the same net wins. The formula measures player value, not the contract attached to it. You need to layer that in separately. It doesn't know about fit. A player's trade value to a specific team may be higher or lower than the formula suggests based on their roster construction, system, and what they're missing. Trade value here is generic market value, not team-specific value. What it does, it gives you a constant data-grounded starting point for evaluating any trade involving NBA players built on the same aging curves and production data that power the rest of the net wins framework. The formula won't tell you who to trade for. It will tell you whether the prices each side is paying makes sense. The net wins formula and all written content are original works, all rights reserved. Thank you for your time.